the way that we do. I don't think you can put a value on the benefit that we get. But this section that we're looking at now, I mean, to understand our relationship with God, we get to look at the relationship God had offered the Israelites, and the covenant relationship that had been offered and at this point had been ratified. And so the thing is, what it does is, I hope it gives depth and meaning to our relationship with God. We look at what God had wanted for them and all the things that He did to try to bring that about. But yet they had a part in it too. It wasn't God wasn't going to do it all. He gave them choices, and same thing with us today. So the reason I hope we really connect with this, because I hope we see, our covenant relationship with God, or it helps to define it even more so, that we become stronger, and the conviction that we have becomes even deeper. And so we start out here, and it's talking about the sacrifice of the covenant. This is in Hebrews, and making the point, for a testament is a force after men are dead, otherwise it is no strength at all while the testator liveth. Wherefore neither the first testament was dedicated without blood, and almost all things by the law are purged with blood. Without shedding of blood is no remission. And one of the things I wanted to kind of read this real quick right here, and we'll kind of go through that, but we go back and look at how Moses divided the blood from the peace offerings in half. He sprinkled half the blood upon the altar, symbolizing God's part in ratifying the covenant. Then he read the written portion of the law to the people, and again they promised to obey all that God had said. Moses took the other half of the blood that had been preserved, and he sprinkled it upon the people, thus signifying the people's part in the covenant. And you remember they had the meal. It was Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 elders. And so they had that meal from the peace offerings, if you will, and that helped to, as it were, literally mean cut a covenant, and so basically it ratified or it put the covenant in effect. And so, but one of the things I wanted to read this right here, because what we're looking at here, to help us understand our connection as well. We cannot avoid seeing the connection between the words of Moses, "Behold the blood of the covenant," and the words of Christ when he instituted the Lord's Supper. "For this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." And that's Matthew 26:28. Moses referred to the blood of the peace offerings, which were subsequently eaten by the representatives of the people of Israel. Jesus referred to the fruit of the vine, which he chose to be the memorial of the blood which he shed in his death upon the cross. Just as the subsequent eating of the peace offering by the representatives of the people was a ratifying or sealing of the agreement between Jehovah and Israel, so our eating of the Lord's Supper is a ratifying or a reaffirming of the agreement we have with the Lord. According to the example found in the New Testament, and that's Acts 20:7, we eat the Lord's Supper each first day of the week as a way of reminding ourselves of the sacrifice Christ made for our sins, and by eating we reaffirm that we have a covenant, an agreement with Him that we must remember to fulfill. And so that's pretty significant stuff, and this is going down through where and if you go back in Hebrews, and I'm not in Hebrews, but talks about of those who, well, I guess I should go there. I don't want to. When I get up here, I don't seem to think it's clearly Hebrews chapter 10. Hebrews chapter 10, and I wanted to begin actually before verse 29. Verse 28, anyone who has rejected Moses' law dies without mercy on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. Of how much worse punishment do you suppose he will be thought worthy who has trampled the Son of God underfoot, counted the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified a common thing, and insulted the Spirit of grace? And there it says, done despite, I guess in the King James, and in the New King James, insulted. And any way you want to look at it, it's not a good thing. Remember in a meal, Matthew 26:28, for this is the blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. Mark 14:24, and he said to them, this is the blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many. Luke 22:20. Likewise, after the cup, likewise also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. And 1 Corinthians 11:25, after the same manner also he took the cup which he had supped, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. And so, again, we get that connection that we've got as well. So again, very, very significant to look at these events right here to kind of help us. And then we jump to Exodus 24, or go back to Exodus 24:12 through 14. And the Lord said unto Moses, come up to me into the mount, and there I will give thee tablets of stone, and a law and commandment which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses rose up, and his minister Joshua, and Moses went up into the mount of God. And he said unto the elders, tarry ye here for us until we come again unto you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them. And then back in Exodus 24:15 through 18. Exodus 24:15 through 18. Then Moses went up into the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. Now the glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And on the seventh day he called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. The sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on the top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. So Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain, and Moses was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. So he was there almost 6 weeks, So it's an extended period of time. And so he's going to be up there, and then like y'all can see on the thing, you look at the mountain there. And I guess, it's an awesome sight. It's just tremendous. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to actually, verses 25 through 31, get into specifics on certain things like the tabernacle and various things. We want to keep a continuous story. Now, we're going to look at those, but we're going to come back to those. But we want to keep this continuous story going of a covenant offered, a covenant ratified. Then we're going to see, we're about to go to the thing where the covenant broken, and then a covenant renewed. So we jump from Exodus 24 to Exodus 32:1. Apostasy. What is apostasy? If you had to put that in a definition, what would you say? Yeah, it's like a complete falling away. It's like giving up one's faith. Exactly. Yeah. And so, and Moses has gone 40 days, 40 nights, almost 6 weeks. They're down at the mountain, and they can see up, and but with all the stuff that's gone on, I mean, is there any reason to think that, hey, this was it? It's kind of like it's over with now. But let's Exodus 32 and verse 1. And we're going to see how the people they look at this situation. Now, when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, come, make us gods that shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. Do you see some faulty reasoning on their part? If so, what's some things that they're missing out here?
They seem to be putting too much into Moses.
Yeah, Moses brought us up.
It's God that led them out and showed them these things. Led them,
Moses was the instrument. Yeah.
They're looking for. They got it right there in front of them, and they're looking for something else.
Uh-huh. Exactly, and that's actually what we're going to see, and I think that's the appeal of idolatry, is you look and back back then with all the people of Canaan and everything, and you think how idolatry just kind of seemed to flow everywhere. I think that's the essence of it. But I look at religious groups around us today, and while you don't say that they worship idols, that they suppose that they worship God. But it seems like they pick and choose what they'll take, and we agree with this, but no, we just, I'm just saying, and I think that's the essence of it. People want what they want, and instead of yielding to God. But the point that you made initially about Moses brought us up. God did that, and they seem to be looking at Moses like he's just the instrument by which God uses. And then we don't know what's become of him. It's like he's probably gone now, And with all the stuff that's gone on, really, can you just jump to that conclusion? Yes.
We live in a material world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a problem for mankind since the beginning of man. We want to be able to see, hear, touch.
Mm-hmm.
Could explain some of the reasons why people, even here, why they would want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It could explain why we see in people around us, different denominations are so material, because they want to see, they want to touch something. They want to make statues. It's just the nature of man. It takes tremendous discipline to bring yourself to the point that the thing we are worshiping cannot be seen, cannot be felt, except in our hearts.
And I'll ask you this. Did they have a manifestation of God even then, right then?
Oh, they had the fire on the mountain.
Because a mountain doesn't just keep burning, just stay, it just...
Eventually it stops and they go on.
Yeah.
And immediately they begin to fall away. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, I think Moses at the burning bush. He looked at it because it's not consumed. So they had, they going up into the mountain, knowing God was there. That's what he was going to meet with Moses. And so it wasn't like the mountain just went all dark and, there's nothing going on. Boy, there's nothing happening now. No, there's plenty happening. And, but it's off in the distance, yeah.
Well, another thing was they weren't supposed to go and touch the mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
The mountain. They could see it from afar,
Mm-hmm.
but they weren't to touch it. This God that they're worshiping, he's on that mountain. We're not to go near him.
So the point is that they still could see the flame, the fire. They could still see the glory to what God wanted them to get. And like you said, they still, I'm sure they still respected the boundaries of that. We're not going up on that mountain. But again, it's kind of, here's an opening for them. Where, Moses sitting there, and so we're just gonna, and one of the things I think about with them coming out of Egypt, do you think they saw idolatry in Egypt?
That's what I believe. Look at what they're wanting to make.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right? So all that what they was exposed to in Egypt had an influence.
And it didn't leave them, no.
That's what they're trying to do now.
Yep.
They need an image.
And
Just like the Egyptians did.
and one of the things, and I'll throw this on myself. At work, there was something I was kind of complaining to myself about, and I thought, wait a minute, I'm studying about how people murmur, and I'm like, what am I doing? I am sorry. The point of what I'm making is sometimes we can see things in other people, but then if we're not careful, it can be in us. The influence can be in us. They left Egypt, but the idolatry was still.
It's kind of like it's kind of like to me. I think about Sodom and Gomorrah, and you think about Lot's daughters. Well, he got them out of Sodom, but he didn't get Sodom out of the daughters.
Exactly.
Because they were influenced by what they saw, what they were around day in and day out, just like the Egyptians. children of Israel were an Egyptian.
And I guess I'd say for ourselves, we have all these influences around us, and there's things tugging at us, and we may not realize that, but we need to learn from their example and be very careful and question things we do, to ourselves, Again, I had to catch myself and go like, while I might feel I have the need to, or again, to myself, but I thought, that's probably what they were doing, but this was, in their situation, it was about God. But I'm doing it, but there's people who are over me who have authority, and I'm supposed to respect that. So I need to be very careful. Now, if they do something wrong, that's different. If I just disagree with how they do something, then, so just saying. But apostasy, so... And Aaron said unto them, break off the gold earrings which are in the ears of your wives and your sons and your daughters, and bring them to me. And it says break off, and I think Bob makes the point. Literally, this is like just jerk it off. Just, give them to me quick, as it were, I guess. And all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, these be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation and said, tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. And so... I think it's pretty significant when you think about what they did. They made a calf in Horeb and worshipped a metal image. They exchanged the glory of God for the image of an ox which eats grass. They forgot God, their Savior, who had done great things in Egypt, wondrous works in the land of Ham, and awesome deeds by the Red Sea. The idolatry was more sinful in view of the recent experience of God's power in Egypt and his wonders in Sinai. Though intending to worship Jehovah under the symbol of the calf, yet as this was incompatible with his nature, they in reality gave him up and were so given up by him instead of the Lord of heaven. They had as their glory the image of an ox that does nothing but eat grass. And so, while they are, I guess they think this is still being directed toward God, have they not broken some things that, God spoke to them directly? Even if they want to claim, well, this is, we need a physical manifestation of God, and this is going to be the God, maybe they use it in a singular sense. Directed toward God. This, thou shalt make no graven image. They have broken what God has said. What He spoke to them in the Ten Commandments. And again, what they've done is, and I think it gets back to what we said. It's kind of like they're kind of deciding how this is going to go. This isn't God directing this. This is, and I think that's the fallacy of man, that he wants to, let me tell you how this thing should go. No. I need to listen to God. And if he says do it this way, then that's the way I need to do it. Any thoughts or anything before I move on to?
I think one thing about this golden calf is it does not shake the mountain.
No.
Fire does not come down and settle on it. It's what they wanted, something a little more peaceful, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They control.
Exactly. I think that's the essence of it right there. Is now we can approach this. We don't have to fear it. And I don't know if they touched it. I don't know. Yes.
I don't know if they say how big this golden calf was. This was a lot. Israel was very large at this time, and they had a lot of gold that was given to them.
Mm-hmm.
When God asked the Egyptians for gold, they were more than enough to give it to them, so they would leave.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, here they've had these valuable things, and again, they're putting trust in stuff like that. Again, we made it out of gold. Oh, like that's, no. can't begin to compare to God. And so they have, as we've just read, they have left God. There's no doubt about that. In Exodus 32:6, and they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. And that idea of rose up to play, there's we're not really sure what they did by that, but to laugh outright, merriment or scorn, implication to sport, laugh, mock, play, make sport. Basically, I think they're doing what they, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And it is used as an expression of joy or humor, but also can be used to mock or make light of something serious. In Judges 16, and I read that. Oh, that's where Samson. That's Samson, where the Philistines take Samson, and they after they've captured him, and they bring him out. This is before he's in that arena, and he's going to be between the two pillars and bring down that temple. I say arena, but a temple. But they wanted to make sport of him. It could have sexual licentious overtones. Again, these are the people doing what they want to do. So I don't guess there's any true restraint on it. It may not be that everybody's doing the exact same thing, but this is directed by their will. I don't overlook anybody. After this, they sat down to eat and drink, and then gave themselves up to revelry. Early the next day, the people sacrificed burnt offerings, brought fellowship offerings. Afterward, they sat down to a feast, which turned into an orgy, and that's, I guess, one of the versions, I guess, that might say that. They had not renounced the worship of Jehovah, but there seems to have been much of the revelry that marked the feast of the heathen. And again, they came out of that in Egypt. And so some of the things, I guess, they saw, and they're just like, to them, it seems like, hey, this is what we want. If we choose between what God did or this, we like this. I'm just saying, and it's you wonder how quickly, again, Moses only been gone 4 days and 40 nights. But in a relatively short time, they have gotten way off track. Any thoughts or anything? Yes, Judd.
No leadership.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's one of the things I think about, and I really think about that when Moses comes back, and we're going to look at that, and he's going to ask him. And what I find interesting, it doesn't really get into it. There's, but again, what kind of reply could you give that would, what are you going to say? Aaron messed up really bad. And like you say, no leadership. You're exactly right. In anything, you have to have leadership. And Moses trusted him. Aaron and Hur, he left them in charge. And they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And it shows when you don't do what you're supposed to, things can go horribly wrong. And the Lord said unto Moses, Get thee down, for thy people which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They had made them a molten calf, and have worshipped him, and sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, that I may consume them, and I will make of thee a great nation. All right, so what do you make of that when God told Moses, that which thou broughtest out? What do y'all make of that? Does that have any significance at all? I'm thinking, God said, the one you brought out, it's almost like it makes you wonder if God's distancing himself from these people. Instead of God saying, the people that I brought out by my power, by my might, he said, the ones you brought out. And, again, I don't want to put too much into that, but I just find that interesting. And it, just like we commented earlier, how the people said, what all happened to this Moses that brought us out? and they didn't really give God the acknowledgement. Here, God is stepping away from the acknowledgement, if you will. It seems to be, these people you brought out. And then, and I will make of thee a great nation. So God, you see the connection God has with Moses. He's going to get rid of, he's like, leave me alone, because, he's, I may wax hot against them. But of you, Moses, I can make one. Yes.
God knows where all this is going.
Exactly. God already knows. Yeah.
He is giving Moses a chance here as well.
This is an opportunity for Moses to step up.
To step up and take care of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I guess if Moses hadn't done that, if Moses had failed, not very many times during these next 40 years that we'll see Moses fail, although he does a time or two.
Well, he's human. We'll give him that.
He's giving Moses a chance to be Moses, to be the leader,
Yeah.
to be God's representative to the people.
Exactly. Oh, and Barry, you had something.
Well, Moses in verse 11 goes right back and says, these are your people, your people. We're your people.
Well, that's one of the things. Here's how Moses responds. You're exactly right. Moses implored the Lord, or the New King James says pleaded with. I like that idea. I have no doubt he pleaded with God. The Lord, and said, "Oh Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and a mighty hand?" So what the Lord said, you brought them out. Moses is making that point. God, you brought them out. There's no question of that. And we know, and I see a humility there in Moses. I see that meekness coming out, and instead of him, let's go ahead and read this. And now some thoughts on that. Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent did he bring them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn your burning anger and relent from this disaster against your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self and said to them, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have promised I will give your offspring, and they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord relented from the disaster he had spoken of bringing on his people. All right, so what's some things we notice here about Moses as we're talking? Here he is. He's showing. He's stepping up, as was pointed out, as Alan said. Moses is stepping up to and taking this opportunity. Well, let me ask this. Could he have gone the other direction? Could he have said, yeah, because now has Moses had trouble with these people? At one time he said, they're about ready to stone me. If things don't get better quick, they're getting ready to, I guess it was over the water, they're getting ready to stone me. And then, had he gotten angry with them? You remember about the manna, where he gave them instruction and they didn't do what he said? And I think Moses was angry. So the point is, Moses could have gone right along with this and said, you're exactly right. These people, stiff-necked, stubborn, can't do anything with them. Yeah, me. I'll be the one. If he had had a prideful heart, could he have gone that way? I think so. What's something else we see notable about him right here?
What you're saying, he's going to God.
Uh-huh.
Instead of going down to the people, he's going to God. It's hard for me to understand some of this. I mean, he goes to God, he prays to God, and I guess that's the point of it. He's going to God because he prays to, or talks to God about things, and it says that God relented, but what did God forget that Moses told him? Not a thing. God knew all this, and he knew God's working here in some way that I don't completely grasp, I guess, but he's trying to get his people and Moses to be drawn to him, not him brought down to them. Like some people, I think, take these verses and they come to that conclusion that God, okay, well, God made a mistake and is now having to change his mind. No, that's not what's happening.
No. I mean, one thing you could say, thing you say about this, you think this could be a test for Moses? You know, he tested the people. You know, here's Moses. I mean, I think it's working out to be that. I think, you know, that it could be a test. But what's the wisdom of Moses here? Instead of Moses just saying, look, please don't do it, what does he make a good case here? Exactly. And does he make a good case here? I mean, he brings up, what will the Egyptians say? You know, because if God had done that, could that have opened the door for the Egyptians to say, yeah, those people were worthless, and even God couldn't deal with them, and he just took them out there to get rid of them. I'm just saying. I mean, I think he brings up a valid point there. What about in verse 13? Yeah, exactly. God, here's what you've promised this, and you're doing it, and don't let this get off track. You know, I mean, he could have still done it to Moses, yes.
Another point to be made in this, and I got it out of Brother Walter's book.
Yeah.
As long as the people were obedient to God and living under his covenant, they were his people.
Right.
They had broken the covenant. They were no longer his people because they broke the covenant.
Mm-hmm. And the next slide, we're going to actually get into that. But I just, you know, when I read this, I see the humility of Moses, that meekness of him, instead of him stepping up like, hey, yeah, you're right, I'll be the guy, you know, I'll be the one I'll be the patriarch down the road. They'll be talking about how great, you know, I'm just saying, you know, how you want to fill that in. But then he reasons, he uses reason. Here's God, and God knew all this. I mean, he's not telling God something he doesn't know. But I like how Moses, he's thinking these things through, and he's got a really good handle on things. And I think when we look at Moses, he was a very wise man. He was a meek man. Yes, Purdy, sorry, I didn't mean to. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you bring up a good point that that he has a connection with those people. He loves them. He must. He cares about them. Yes.
He doesn't know at this point it's going to be a lot longer than he thinks.
Yeah. He's not sure what's going to happen. I know, but that's another point I didn't include. But I think, and Bob, I think he mentioned that. But the point is, yeah, Moses has a genuine love for, a concern for these people. He intercedes for them, and it does make a difference. And so I just find that it just. To me, it adds more depth to the character of Moses. The more I learn about him, again, he was a man. He had strengths and weaknesses, and you know, wasn't perfect. God is perfect, but the thing is, you know, you see in instances like this where he does step up, and again, does that not teach us something? Those opportunities may come our way. Yes.
Similarities between Moses and Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Both of them stepped up, both of them gave of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Moses was human,
Yeah.
an old human, and he failed a couple of times, but still, we see the parallels here.
And the thing that we're going to see, you know, as you go down and you see even more, is God values him greatly. You know, I think God's going to say, I may deal with other people in visions and dreams. I talk to him face to face. I know him by name. I think showing that such a closeness there. This is the man I've chosen. He's the mediator in this situation, you know, with the people and doing all he did. So I appreciate y'all's comments. Really great. Anything else, or don't overlook anybody? Important to remember that the covenant which God has been broken by Israel's sin. All the promises by Israel to obey have been quickly discarded. Jehovah is under no obligation to forgive. Any hope for Israel now depends on God's mercy alone. And that's exactly right. Then Moses turned and went down from the mountain with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hand. Tablets that were written on both sides, on the front and on the back. They were written. The tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets. Very, very, God wrote on these tablets, so it wasn't man. When Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, "There is noise in the camp." So, Joshua was left at a certain place. Moses went on up. So they get back, and Joshua's close enough. He can hear what's going on down below. And he said to Moses, "There is noise of war in the camp." But he said, "It is not the sound of shouting for victory or the sound of the cry of defeat, but the sound of singing that I hear." Moses is quickly pointing out, no, it is not war. And as soon as he came near the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, Moses' anger burned hot. And he threw the tablets out of his hand and broke them at the foot of the mountain. And we're going to read about that. I think this sums it up very well here. The breaking of the stone tablets by Moses was not a thoughtless act of frustration and anger. Moses was not that kind of man. Rather, he knew that what he saw meant that the Israelites had broken their covenant with God, and that the covenant was based squarely upon what was written upon these tablets. And then I think Deuteronomy 4:13, it talks about the 10 Commandments on the tablets of stone, I believe, there in Deuteronomy 4:13. Moses knew better than anyone else the covenant was broken. He knew that God had been ready to destroy the people, and he had been the one who had interceded with God not to wipe Israel from the face of the earth. But he did not know where the matter would go from here. The breaking of the tablets was therefore symbolic of what Israel had done. And so he took the calf that they had made and burned it with fire and ground it to powder and scattered it on the water and made the people of Israel drink it. And I'm sure the taste was not good. I think that's not, but it's something they needed, and a lesson to be learned that, hopefully you'd hope to think that they'll never forget. And Moses said to Aaron, "What did this people do to you that you have brought such a great sin upon them?" What's Aaron, And Aaron said, let not the anger of my Lord burn hot. You know the people that they are set on evil. For they said to me, make us gods that shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. So I said to them, let any who have gold take it off. So they gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and out came the calf. I just threw it in there, and in this whole thing, Aaron's the one that's like, with a big question mark, Aaron, what were you thinking? I mean, how did you, now if he said the people grabbed me by the throat and they were shaking me and they were threatening to kill me, I mean, even then I might say, so? But they, these people, they're set on evil, so, yeah, I just did what they wanted. It's like, when you're in charge, that means you kind of regulate things. You're supposed to regulate things. You don't just go along with the crowd, as it were. When Moses saw that the people had broken loose, for Aaron had let them break loose to the derision of their enemies, then Moses stood at the gate of the camp and said, who is on the Lord's side? Come to me. And all the sons of Levi gathered around him. And he said to them, thus says the Lord God of Israel, put your sword on your side, each of you, and go to and fro from gate to gate through the camp. And each of you kill his brother and his companion, his neighbor. Basically, it doesn't matter if they're related to you or not. And we're going to see who is on the Lord's side. Let him come unto me. The zeal and courage of Moses was astonishing, considering he opposed an intoxicated mob. The people were separated into two divisions. Those who were the boldest and most obstinate in vindicating their idolatry were put to death, while the rest who withdrew in shame and sorrow were spared. So in this group, with all this going on, there were those who still had that boldness, that opposition, that, what do you mean something's wrong with what we did? We're worshiping God. I have no doubt there might have been those who were the boldest and most obstinate. Well, they were to be dealt with. And that's exactly what the sons of Levi did. And the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moses. And that day, about 3,000 men that day, about 3,000 men of the people fell. And Moses said, "Today you have been ordained for the service of the Lord, each one at the cost of his son and of his brother, so that he might bestow a blessing upon you this day." The Levites were to prove themselves in a special way, the servants of Yahweh, in anticipation of their formal consecration as ministers of the sanctuary, by manifesting a self-sacrificing zeal and carrying out the divine command even upon their nearest relatives. So they went through, and the most obstinate, the most rebellious, in about 3,000. So they proved themselves. The next day, Moses said to the people, "You have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin." So Moses returned to the Lord and said, "Alas, this people has sinned a great sin. They have made for themselves gods of gold. But now, if you will forgive their sin, but if not, please blot me out of your book that you have written." And here's Moses again. He's standing up for the people, and he's kind of like, if you won't forgive them, just if you're going to blot out their name. Yes.
Yeah, the thing, that point that brought up by Irving and Allen, I think, a while ago. This is Moses, like the type of Christ, but just a shadow. This is empty compared to the real thing. He's saying that perhaps I can make atonement.
Yeah.
Christ makes atonement for us, and we have the solid thing, the real thing now. And of course, the Jews look back on Moses as being so great that they overlook what they have in Christ.
Well, the next slide, and let me hit this next slide because I think it touches exactly what you're saying. Moses stopped for a minute. How could he finish? What deal could he make? What offering could he give to persuade God to forgive Israel? What price could he pay? It has been well said that only Jesus could complete the sentence. "If thou wilt forgive them, I will pay their penalty with the sacrifice of my blood." And Moses, in his way, said, "Blot out my name," as it were. He was, his way of I'm sacrificing. But again, not a perfect man. But and again, that's why we see Christ, sinless Son of God, came down from heaven, and all that he did, and so, and we'll finish with this one. We'll pick up after this, but it has well been said that only Jesus could complete the sentence. "If thou will forgive them, I will pay their penalty with the sacrifice of my blood." And that's exactly what he did. Thank y'all for y'all's attention. That'll be, if you would